Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Josh.
It's good seeing you today with your pillow.
I know. I got my pillow.
Yeah,
It's
I
more
was saying,
cozy.
chairs swallow. I mean, it's perfect for me.
Yeah, I know. I like the height of the arms, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You could fit two of you in that chair. It's
Yeah.
so big.
I know. Well, I'm a
Yeah,
sidekick here.
yeah, which doesn't make me feel, well, I feel okay, I guess.
Yeah. I feel comfortable, right?
But you can't fit two of me in this chair, that's for sure.
Then no one
Yeah.
will try to take up your space.
No, these are huge chairs.
They
People who
are.
can't see them, they are huge. But
They are.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's why they're in here.
That's
not in our
right.
office.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, well, we are going to talk about marriage today. We're going to talk about the good enough marriage. So I think just the concept of that might kind of make people kind of turn their head a little bit and raise an eyebrow, wonder exactly what we're talking about. So we will, when we come back, that's what we're going to get into. So don't go anywhere. All right, so welcome to the Therapist Take podcast. We are going to talk about our take on what we call the good enough marriage. Before we begin, just want to remind everybody, please, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, to do that. If you're listening to this on the audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or other places, please make sure you follow us and give us a review. That really helps with the algorithms. And just want to remind everybody, too, that we have another podcast that is through Family Solutions Media, which is Are You in Session with Jerry with Jerry and Mosi.
That's good.
With Mary and Josie, they're really fun to listen to. And they have a lot more episodes on YouTube than they have actually on the podcast platforms right now. And I'm really excited about Poetry and Layers with Carl Patterson, who is one of our therapists here, and he's also a published author and spoken word artist, and he's got some TEDx talks, and he's really good at the poetry stuff, and he's going to have a mental health flavor to these episodes that he's going to do, and he's going to do his in seasons. So like ours is kind of ongoing. His is going to be in seasons. And they're scripted, and it's going to be really nice, I think.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be
excited
really
about
cool.
that one.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So check those out. Okay, so we're going to talk about this idea of the good enough marriage. And so let me just kind of outline for everybody kind of what we're going to go through so they have an idea of the points we're going to hit. So the first thing we're going to talk about are these cultural myths of marriage. First of all, I think that's going to be important to go through. We're going to talk about the difference in settling versus reimagining. And then we're going to move right into hard realities and new expectations. And then we'll talk about the way forward from there. So as we begin with this, though, this idea of a good enough marriage came from you. I mean, that's where I first heard it. Probably in one of our many discussions.
Didn't come from me, but maybe you remember us talking about it, right?
Well, I mean, I feel like I first heard it from you.
Okay.
Like you might not have been the
Originator.
the original. You might have got it from somewhere. Did you? Do you
Well,
know?
it's kind of the idea that in mental health, what are we helping people with? Like, I don't hear therapists saying, "I just want my clients to be happy. I just want my clients to have joy," right? Because that's fleeting. Right. Instead, we have a more realistic approach. Right? I want them to be peaceful. I want them to be able to advocate. I want them to, have healthy connections. And so the idea in mental health outcomes is we just want it to be good enough, right?
Yeah, I mean and I of course have bought into it, but I will say, when you first hear good enough marriage or good enough mental health or whatever it may be, like it is a little unsettling.
Sure.
It's like, wait a minute, like
what?
Just good enough? Like, I don't know. Like,
right.
Is that why I'm going to you paying all this money to just be good enough? Like, it just doesn't sound appealing.
Right. Who's signing up for
Yeah, it sounds meh.
It does sound meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But meh isn't good enough. Meh is meh.
And good enough is really what we're going to explore today.
Absolutely. So I don't want to jump the gun, so let's talk about these myths real quickly.
Okay.
So we hear, and I don't know, I'm not following all the science, and behind like where are these influences coming from, really where are the origins, but I do feel like that media and Hollywood and things like that in our culture really influence a lot of these perceptions. So we're going to talk about these cultural myths of marriage or misconceptions. So one of those, for example, the one that automatically pops to my mind is the Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, you always rail against this one. Yeah.
You know, like it sounds great. You know, okay, so Jerry Maguire saying you complete me. You know, like you're not a whole person
without somebody else.
Right. Yeah. Like I am, and I think that is a problem. A lot of people do feel that way. That
I think so.
You know, that I feel incomplete, and so the answer to my problem is to find a person that completes me, that makes me whole, the missing piece to my puzzle, or whatever it is. And it just is like, I'm like, if you feel incomplete, that the problem isn't out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or in another person, right? It's in you. You know, that's why I like the Untethered Soul book. Michael Singer says that, you know, when you feel lonely, for example, and you think, well, I feel lonely, like I have this problem in me, and so I'm going to find somebody else to solve this problem. And he's like, but that relationship inevitably is going to have some big problems because the problem caused the relationship. You know, so you have to solve the problem that's inside of you from within, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, I do not like. Do you like that one?
No, of course not. You
Maguire?
just railed against it for a while. I always think it was one of your things.
Did you like the movie?
Kind of.
I don't remember.
The little boy was so cute.
Oh yeah, he was.
He was so cute.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember much of it except show me the money and you complete me.
Yeah.
So and then what was another one we had, Carrie?
Love is all you need.
Love is all you need. The Beatles.
Great song, but
yeah, they're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Beatles lovers out
I
there. The Beatles are wrong.
They're wrong in the sense that romantic and emotional feelings of love aren't predictors of a successful relationship. And by successful, we mean ongoing, safe, satisfying relationship.
Yeah. The way I say it is that love is foundational. Like, I mean, but if I'm buying a house, I think I want more than a concrete slab to sleep on.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I want a roof over my head and walls and furniture and carpet and all this. But obviously, like if I want my house to be stable, I need a solid foundation, and I do think love is a solid foundation for a relationship. Personally, that's how I understand it.
And I think love is often transformative in that when people say, "How can I do this or achieve this?" Love often is what helps us do that, right?
Yeah.
And most of us become better people because of love, whether it's for another person, for ourselves, for a spiritual connection, whatever. So I think it can definitely be a transformational, I guess, conduit, right? But again, we're talking about good enough marriages, right? And you're not even going to be close to good enough if all you have is love.
Right.
Right.
It sounds so weird saying it though, right? It's like,
I know.
it's not even going to be close to what you need it to be if all you have is love.
I know, it does sound weird.
It sounds weird.
We're such therapists though,
I
right?
know.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like it sounds great. I'm sure it, when the Beatles first released that song, it's a
beautiful message.
Yeah. It's a beautiful image. Like I wish that was all we needed.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so, all right. Kind of the same vein of find someone that'll make you happy. I think the expression that is common is happy wife, happy life, which really kind of puts a lot of pressure on women in that sense.
Right.
But I think to kind of expand that to the other side of the relationship, that we often will say, find someone that'll make you happy. And that's also is it's a myth, because it can't be done. Like, it's hard enough making ourselves happy. How in the world do we think we have the power to make another living person happy?
I know, but we would like to.
Yeah.
Because when we love them, we do want to make them happy.
Yeah, and I probably should be kinder in this, because I fall prey to it too. Like, I'm always battling that. Like, if someone's not happy with me, like, oh, what did I do? I wonder.
How can I fix it?
Talk myself off the right.
Right.
But that's something that's we say that to kids, or I've heard it being said to kids. When you grow up, you just need to find someone that'll make you happy. It's like, oh, so this unhappiness that I feel, it won't be forever, right? I'll find someone that'll make me happy. But I think that puts a lot of pressure on partners. I don't think partners really want, because I don't think they want that pressure, because it's like, if I have the power to basically make you happy, like make your world. I have the power to destroy your world, like to make you unhappy. And I would like to be able to, be human in this process, and not think that, if I'm going through something that's very normal or human-like, that somehow or another that's going to destroy your world. And so a lot of people will, not allow them to have certain emotional experiences, because they're afraid of how it's going to impact the other person, right? So that's kind of the downfall of that
perspective.
Real fun in the beginning, though. I will say it feels really good.
Sure.
Like, man, you make me so happy.
And I think those are real experiences, right? To be around people and falling in love and feel like they make you happy.
Right.
It's not taking away from these romantic and emotional, loving experiences, but it's the idea that they call it the honeymoon phase for a reason. The key word being phase.
Yeah. When the honeymoon ends, it's not fun for anybody.
It doesn't feel like it used to feel, right?
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly from the brain science, so I just want to reserve the right to be wrong on this, just in case if I'm getting some pieces wrong. So if my memory is serving me correctly, I believe that in the honeymoon phase, you have really high levels of dopamine, and so in other words, it feels really good, right? And then I think it's your serotonin levels are low, which I believe scientists have attributed that to why we can't keep our mind off the other person. So it feels really good, and I can't stop thinking about you. So it's that cloud 9 effect, right? But then over the course of I think it's like 1.5 to 2 years, the levels even out, and because the relationship, if you think of it as its own growing entity, developing entity, that it's like it made it through that part of the developmental phase that's necessary for the relationship, and now it's time to move to the next phase, like the committed phase, right? But for some people, when that happens, it feels like love is being lost, right?
Yes,
and so someone wrote a really good song about that. It goes, "You lost that love and feeling," right? But he's like, they didn't lose that love and feeling. Levels just even
right.
Serotonin and dopamine just evened out. That doesn't make a good song.
No,
probably.
It doesn't make a good song at all. It's boring. People would not listen.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think we could write one though. It'd be good.
Okay.
It'd be a rap song probably though.
Oh yeah, that sounds
something on dopamine, serotonin.
People will love it.
We'd be the only ones
listening
to it, and our moms.
Yeah, our moms.
But yeah, so those are just a few. I mean, there was one we were debating on before that I said that we should save that one for a different podcast. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we should do that.
Okay.
But so I do think it's important, for people to understand that there are, our culture doesn't get it right a lot of the time, So it's being willing to question some of the messaging that's being sent, as even though people have been adhering to it for decades, you know, it might not be the better way, you know. So,
Right.
Or there might be a better way. Think of it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this idea of settling versus reimagining.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so because when I hear a good enough marriage, it sounds like settling.
Okay.
But it's not really, right? You agree?
Yes, I hear good enough. And achievers and newly relationshiped and even people that are maybe hurt and trying to work themselves through it will hear good enough and hear settling, giving up, accepting less, something like that, right?
Yes, yeah.
It sounds like that. It's like being a C student when you're capable of being an A student or something, right? And I think our job with clients is, I think what we're trying to do is bring in the human element to it, right? That is, we're all going to be fallible and we're all going to mess up. And even in that year and a half of honeymoon phase, when maybe you don't notice the flaws or they don't mean what they mean later on, that they've always been there, right? And so part of this is it's not settling, it's maybe being a little bit more realistic, accepting humans for their limitations. And I think if you can start to connect to the humanism, perhaps then that actually opens the door to some reimagining.
Yeah. Yeah. It can feel like a gut punch a little bit. I think like it's when you're, you know, what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've all probably had experiences like that with something in life where we thought it was going to be this, but it was that. And sometimes it was horrible. We thought it was going to be great. And sometimes it's just not what I thought it was supposed to be, you know? So we go back to the shoulding stuff, right? And so, but I would not be thrilled to find out that my wife settled, you know, like if she felt like she just had to settle, like this is it, you know, this is what we get, you know, and for whatever reason, if I want to be married to Josh, this is just how it's going to be, I guess. And it's not, I mean, that doesn't sound like a happy life.
No one says, let's sign me up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I do think, you know, reimagining is, you know, it's going back to the drawing board and rethinking from a realistic standpoint, as you said, like what a marriage is and what reasonable expectations are and what are the problems we're facing and what's my part in that. Like this, you know, relationship's a dance, in my opinion. There's a rhythm. So I'm not responsible for any given choice that my partner makes, but the rhythm that we've created in this relationship, the dynamic, is something I've agreed to and I participate in equally, you know. And so if it's not working for me anymore, I have to go back to the drawing board and reimagine like what is and isn't working about it for me. And maybe some of it has to do with what I thought it was supposed to be, and I have to reimagine that now and entertain an idea that there is a better way to do this.
And I think that, again, to just kind of go back to what you said, that we'll be fortunate and we'll sit with couples and they'll say, no, we want to have a great relationship. We're here because we really want to figure out the best way to do this, right? We're not going to drop the ball. We're going to put all our energy into it. And I think wonderful, right? Kudos. So this isn't about saying, you know, don't work at it. We're saying here's a good enough marriage and settle, don't work at it.
Right.
But what we're saying is that the idea of settling versus reimagining makes room for that things will change. Things will inevitably change. And so whether it's something traumatic that happens that forces the change, or it's just the developmental life course of relationships over time, that if you expect it to stay the same, and when it's not the same, you have to just be disappointed and settle, or do you start to shift I think we've got to add that element of what we're trying to introduce here is flexibility to change.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's kind of like it's going against the grain of the original fabric that was laid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, there's a pattern. There's an image or vision that you have of what a relationship is and should be, and a lot of that's going to be based on a lot of different expectations in various layers of culture. So it'd be
Right.
your own unique, like, nuclear family culture, your larger family culture, your community, religion, and so many other things.
Sure.
And this is what when I launched from my family, all those hodgepodge of experiences come together, and your brain creates a vision of what you think it is supposed to look like, and then it doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
So I got to reimagine, and sometimes I'm like, now I'm going to go against the grain. Like, what if it's okay? Is it okay that my partner doesn't meet all my needs, so to speak? That. Is it okay that I can just meet some of my own needs?
Yeah.
Or is it okay that my friendships give me something on an intimate level that my partner that I don't get from my marriage, and that I can't get from my marriage?
Sure.
I mean, can you imagine being married without friends?
No.
I can't. And there are people that live that do that.
Yeah.
They are married and they don't have friends.
Yeah.
Or what about hobbies? Like, is it okay to get
Right.
out of my hobbies
Right.
or out of my work, my profession, my professional life? That there are certain things that create a unique formula for my happiness and well-being, that it's my job to make sure those needs are met, not somebody else's. And I have to be careful about putting too many of my happiness eggs in one particular basket.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I think even saying it that way can feel like settling for some people, right? Especially in that early phase, especially if you grow up in a culture where you're supposed to do everything together. Your marriage is supposed to meet all your needs. You're not supposed to need other things. Those messages, right? Even things like in our office, Josh, that we get to hear, oh, we'll never have children and let them sleep between us. That bed is just for the coupleship, right? That's for us, right? Oh no, we'll never go to two different places of worship because we're going to always share in that, right? Oh no, we're never going to have too many hobbies.
I eat my words every time I say never. I'm if that doesn't happen to everybody else, then it must just be me.
It's probably just you.
I'm not, and I remember it too. So as you're talking, saying these, I never think like I'm kind of chuckling over here because, like, every now and then I'll catch myself saying I'll never or something. I was like, I know I'm going to eat my words on this someday.
Cut it out.
Like, right.
But the idea of that is that if your child sleeps in your bed, have you settled, or are you open to reimagining? Right, it's good enough. Sometimes it's just us. Sometimes it's the other children. I don't know. Right? It's just forcing you to kind of think about those things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to hear one of the nevers?
Yeah, what's one of them?
Because it just happened. Oh. That's why I'm laughing.
Okay.
Because when it happened, I knew it in the moment. Oh. Like, in that moment, I was like, shoot. And we were doing a podcast not too long ago, and I said, I have never told my kids because I said so.
Oh, and you did.
And I did it the other day.
Welcome to the club.
And I'm like, dang it.
It's a very realistic place to be, Josh.
But it was like right there on the podcast. I'm like, I've never done that, and I thought I was better than you for a minute.
Yeah.
And now
you're just a plebe like me.
So, but yeah, I mean, and I think probably, it's probably more common than what you might realize, and how many people experience that. Like, as soon as I say never something, then the thing happens, and it's like, oh.
I'm never going to drive a mom car.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I could name off I probably can name off more than I have fingers and toes for.
Sure.
Because,
But the idea when people say that is that if that happens, you have settled or lost or given up.
yeah,
Right.
right.
And what we're introducing here is, or are you reimagining? Have your,
Yeah, I do think that you have lost and given up on some things, but I don't think you've settled.
Well,
right?
exactly, because things have to end, right?
Right.
Sleeping in on Saturdays ends when you're a parent,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Being able to come and go as you please without anybody ever knowing what you're doing or when you're coming back ends when you enter in a committed relationship. There are things that
Yeah.
end, and that's not a reflection of that it's not okay or that there's a settling.
Yeah.
It's just a new territory.
Right. Yeah, and there's also fear in there, because what happens if I'm starting to realize that this, like, let's just say I've been married I've been married nearly 25 years, in let's just say at year 20, I'm starting to realize that this whole meeting each other's needs things for the birds, like I don't think that's possible, and I think I'm gonna have to. I think it's too much to ask of one person, and I need to kind of reimagine this. And then what does that mean for us though? Like, how does that disrupt us? Because I don't want to lose this person. And will
Right.
they see it the same way? Will they see what's happening as a reimagining thing and not me, leaving or abandoning or,
Right.
a number of other things that they think might be happening.
Right.
And so a lot of people, I think, will just, try to white knuckle it
Yep. Right.
and power through. And I think it usually gets messier.
That's
at
when
that
I think
point.
I think that's conflict
Yeah.
or.
I mean, I would rather this process of change, and when it comes to like reimagining, I would rather people be intentional with it rather than it just happening to you.
Right,
But
right.
I don't know, how realistic that is,
I
to be
don't
honest
know.
with you.
I
'Cause
don't know.
I think for most of us, it
Most
probably
of us
just
change
happens.
only when we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So, for the viewing, listening audience, that it's, yes, there's some loss, there's some giving up on some things, but don't think of it as settling, because settling means that you're not really, you're resigning to
Yes, resign.
a life that is less than satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think that's what we're talking about here.
No.
All right, so the next thing is hard realities and new experiences. So I think we were kind of touching on that, because I think that's one of the things that hinders people from wanting to move forward is, kind of what I said, is like, my wife can't meet all my needs. Ugh, I don't like that.
Right.
I have to meet some of them. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like, I just kind of like it better the other way when I have to work so hard.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I think, can you think of any hard realities that, just off the top of your head, that couples kind of have to face when they're going through this?
I think that there's a lot, but I think kind of the idea that no one can meet your needs, but the idea that there has to still be some, even when you're in love and even when you share values, that there still has to be some separateness, right? Everyone needs their own autonomy and identity. And there's going to be times throughout the course of your relationship, you're going to need more of that. And that's just a hard reality.
Yeah.
And I think that can feel to people like something is wrong or failing.
Right.
And, as we say, there are seasons, right? There are seasons where you in your relationship may feel like we're really jiving, this is rocking along. And then there may be seasons where, what is this, right?
Yeah.
Who is this? What have I done?
Right.
Right. And that's just, I'm trying to normalize that ups and downs, right, of the harsh reality.
Yeah. Well, it's normal in the sense of that it's just what you have to go through. Like, it's not I don't think there's a way forward where you're not, like operating where it's not higher intensity.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But one of the things I was thinking about was, when we're working with couples that are dealing with infidelity and betrayal trauma, we often cover a few different hard realities.
Right.
And one of them, I think it's one of the hardest ones, is that you really don't fully know your partner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the way we say it is like you really can't fully know someone, even your own partner. You know, it's like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, like
Mm-hmm.
it feels uncertain and like anything could just happen. Like anything could,
because anything could just happen.
Right. You know, and it's hard, but it's always the thing is it's always been that way.
Yeah.
We just have we utilize these facades, or these what I call like the curtains of certainty. You know, like we put these veils over reality.
Right.
Just because it helps a little bit, and I don't fault people for that. Like
No.
I liked it when I did it for a while, but when they're open, you can't close them back.
No, and I think it's even got some, healthy adaptations, right? Of
Sure.
having some. No, I mean, who could actually decide to get married if you knew it was going to be hard?
Yeah, it's so true.
You have to do. It's going to be hard, but we did premarital work. We have good families we come from. Whatever, like you have to be able to do that, and that's still true.
Yeah.
But they don't protect you, right? Even healthy people get sick, right?
Yeah.
So this just the course.
Yeah, you're 100% on that. I mean, I was 20 years old. Like
Baby
I don't want to
Josh.
know. I'm glad I didn't know some of these things.
Sure.
You know, and I'm grateful that I felt like that we weren't so ignorant of how things are that we didn't, we're fortunate to not fight like cats and dogs in the beginning of our marriage. You know. But when our marriage changed and shifted, and that's actually another myth I believe is that marriage lasts forever. And we were kind of joking around that at least for one of you that's not true. Because most people don't go out together when they die. But what we're mainly referring to though is the shift and change, and that the marriage I'm in now is not the marriage my wife and I created in the beginning.
Well, what's Esther Perel's quote, right?
What
Most of us have 2 to 3 marriages in our lifetime, and sometimes they're to the same person.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I think it was Carl Whitaker that said I've been married to the same woman 7 times. Kind of this reflection of the many changes and shifts it's had.
Right.
So, So yeah, I mean, that's just a hard reality. And when you're learning about these, when you have a new reality, comes new sets of expectations.
Right. Yes.
Right. It's not settling though.
Right. New rules,
just being
new
realistic.
expectation. Yeah.
It's okay. I'm an idealist. All the idealistic people, am I saying that word right? Idealistic. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So for all the idealistic people out there, it's okay to be realistic at times. Just at times, though.
You can stay optimistic, realistic.
Yeah, you can be eternal. I'm an eternal optimist.
Yeah, I know you are.
And I like that about me.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's important for me to have realists in my life.
Yes.
You're a realist. My wife's a realist. Hannah, who's over there working right now, is a realist. I'm surrounded by realists.
You are.
That's probably good because I can get pretty bad with my optimism sometimes.
It's a funny thing to say. I can get bad with my optimism.
Pretty bad with it. Which means I get hurt a lot.
I know. People let you down.
But I'm okay with it. What does that say about me?
Yeah, I know. Another episode.
We were talking about the Beatles and the "Love Is All You Need" thing, and I was thinking as you were talking, I was like, "Ooh, what are some pop culture songs or things where they got it right?" And comes to mind. Hannah's gonna love this. Taylor Swift.
Oh.
You know what song I'm thinking of, Hannah?
No, what?
It's me.
Oh.
How's it go? What's the?
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem.
Yes,
it's me.
that's Carrie. I'm impressed.
I have
it's
a daughter.
Me. Hi,
yeah.
I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. There's been many breakdowns of that song with my 8-year-old at my house.
I haven't listened to the whole song like where I'm paying attention to the lyrics exactly, but I just want to tell her like, well, it's not all you. I mean, Don't
It's her
don't flip to the.
anti-hero, though. You listen.
know.
She's doing an
Well,
IFS
I
take on.
haven't listened to the whole
Okay,
thing.
all
Like I
right.
said, I haven't
There's your homework.
really paid attention
Okay.
to it. But I do know that part of
Yeah.
it, right? And that was my first part is like, well, it's good that she's acknowledging it. But don't flip to the other extreme.
Yeah.
Like no one else has a part in whatever she's going through.
You're such a systemic thinker, Josh. Right? Yeah.
But I can't think of is there any other pop culture references where it's like, yep, they got it. I can think of others where they didn't. Like
It's much easier to think about what they did.
Zach Brown Band has a song that goes, "Keep your heart above your head and your eyes wide open," and it's a great song. I love it. I love the Zach Brown Band, but that song, the therapist in me gets driven crazy because I'm like, no, like you don't let your heart lead. Like your heart is there to be very informative. Your heart has very good intel, but your cognitive and intellectual brain needs to make the decisions utilizing that intel. Don't put your heart above your head.
I think
just let it go.
I don't think that people sit down from a head. They write a lot of songs that way, right? They write the songs when they're in these extremes, right?
Yeah. But and it feels good, but sometimes I'm wondering, is that helping?
Oh, and my daughter was listening to. Do you know the song from the '90s, "Love Fool" by the Cardigans? I'm not going to sing it, but there's so many lyrics in there where she's like, "I can't live with anyone but you," and I'm just like, "Oh gosh, I don't want her to think that."
Oh yeah.
I don't want her to take in those lines, right?
My daughter and a lot of kids are hooked on this Tennessee Orange song. Have you heard this? Where it's about a girl that I think is from Georgia, and she's going to school in Tennessee, and she met a boy, and she's writing back to her dad saying she met this boy, and don't worry, Dad, I'm still a Georgia girl at heart. I'm a Hoya or whatever color that they wear down there.
Bulldogs, red.
Yeah, and she's like, but I did wear Tennessee orange for him. I'm like, don't do that. Like, I mean, it's romantic, though.
It is romantic, but as parents of daughters, you're just like, oh,
man.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to say, go listen to some like, I can't remember his name. It was a song about drinking, though. Like I was like, that's where that's where it ends up. Like you like. A song about like you're just trying to drown out the noise, like it's like you won't be able to stand Tennessee Orange, and you'll be mad at yourself that you gave up Georgia.
Yeah.
It's me.
I know. That's your homework. You listen to the whole thing. You got to see the video.
All right, we digress there a little bit. So the way forward, and that's our last point that we're going to cover, and I'm a Lord of the Rings junkie, and so the kind of one of the more famous quotes from Lord of the Rings is where Frodo says, "I'll take the ring, though I do not know the way." And it's just, I don't know what it is about it. I think it's just the whole setup of that, the context of that he's a hobbit, which they're much smaller in stature of a people. They're not known for heroism. They're very just kind of a peaceful people that just kind of live under the hills, and here he is amongst all these, warriors and giants who are fighting about who's going to do this thing to save humanity. And as they're arguing and there's all this noise, he speaks up and he says, "I'll take the ring." And this little sweet innocence comes out, though I don't know the way. And I think it just really resonates with what I feel like is happening to a lot of clients that are ready to do this work.
Yeah.
Like I'll do it, but I don't know the way, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah. So it's an incredible. I think what touches you is an incredible amount of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the way forward.
It is, and it is an incredible amount of vulnerability.
And it is.
And one thing I've said a lot, like for people that, if you hopefully you haven't fallen prey to toxic masculinity or any kind of perception that strength is not being vulnerable, because if you really want to prove that you have reached the apex of strength in your human existence, then you need to know when it's time to be weak and doing it. That is, to me, the top of the mountain right there. Like, that's the strongest of the strong are able to do that.
Yeah.
Which is it's paradoxical, which you know how I feel about paradoxes.
That's where the mental health is.
Yeah. Oh, do your paradox quote. We just talked
My
about
paradox quote. Oh, my
yeah.
From Willy Wonka, the original Willy Wonka.
Because it fits with what we're talking about.
Yeah, the scene in the factory when they get on like the bus car wash thing, and they start, and we're going backwards, and he says, "Oh, you always have to go backwards to go forwards."
Yeah.
Right.
Oh gosh, it's so good.
It's so good, and it really, I think, speaks to what we're talking about, what we do in therapy, right?
Yeah. It's against the grain.
It's against the grain.
It's not what you're like. My son just turned 16, and he's got some whiskers. And, I bought him some razors, but I said, hey, man, I'll get you some. Do you need some razors? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, just let me know if you need help with it. But I didn't want to push it, and you make him feel awkward and everything. And so, like, they just sat there for like 2 or 3 days. And he came to me finally, and he's like, how's this work, Dad? And I'm like, well, don't go against the grain. You got to go with the grain, like, otherwise you're going to cut your face up, And so, but, this is, the sometimes, but one thing I told him, like, but if you want a really smooth shave someday, you'll shave with the grain and then you'll go against the grain. And that's how you get the really smooth shave. Do you remember Ghostbusters when it says, when they're like, I know this is a weird shift.
Okay, yeah.
But it was like, oh yeah, Ghostbusters. Okay. They said, like, when they created the machine, I forgot what it's called, to capture the ghosts, and he's like, whatever we do, don't cross streams. Right. And it's like, that could be, bad, big boom, basically. And then when they had to do their final battle, he's like, we got to cross the streams. He's like, but you said don't cross the streams. Like, I specifically remember you saying don't cross the stream. That's bad. But it's how many times in session have we been working with somebody and we're like, what is the thing? What are you most afraid of doing or trying? And we're like, is it possible that might be the thing? The thing that just doesn't make sense. And, we've talked about this a lot over the years, is that, like, we're often presenting things that don't make sense to people because they've tried everything that's made sense. They wouldn't be here.
Right.
Know,
so it's kind of an invitation of the way forward is new.
Yeah.
Right. When in doubt, try something new.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. How's he say it again? Backward.
You always have to go backwards to go forwards.
Yeah. And don't you love how he said,
yeah.
Oh, you always have to go backwards.
But he's
like you should, like, don't you know?
Well, no,
this?
he's just
like,
very matter of fact and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this.
Yeah.
You always have to go backwards to go forward. But this is a new reality. That's a hard reality. Like, I don't know how to navigate that yet. So what are my expectations of going backwards in order to go forward? Like, it's
so it sounds like
so great.
what we're highlighting here is that you do have to maybe first step build awareness to even know what expectations are not being met. Why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling ignored? Why are we fighting more? Whatever. Right. What's falling away? What's shifting? So that awareness of, this is an adjustment period. And this is really going to happen in times of trauma or times of transition, right?
Yeah.
And so, again, as we say, what's the way forward is to be looking for this whenever you enter a new developmental phase in your life, right? Whenever something significant happens, these are going to be opportunities for things to change and your expectations to change. And the hope is, to kind of go back to the theme, that you do this good enough.
Right, yeah. And so, like, I think this is a good place to close out on, is that, for people that really want to have a great marriage, they need to have a good enough marriage, because a good enough marriage is a great marriage. Those are the greatest marriages, because there's not an expectation of perfection.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, at some point, as you're trying to achieve and grow and create intimacy, at some point, you have to just say, it's good enough.
Yeah.
It's great. And
Yeah.
that's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you don't have to do any more. But you don't just ignore it. But, you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yes, I do. And I think,
Yeah.
I think this is easier for people as parents to accept, but I think it's really important to think about it from a committed marital relationship
Sure.
perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a peace and resolve in it, you know. So,
Yeah.
well, we better stop talking before we ruin it.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Shh.
Yeah. Start talking about Ghostbusters again.
I know. Never know. The squirrel could come in.
Yeah, I know. Any moment in time, we could have that squirrel moment. That damn squirrel. Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody being here. I think next week maybe Ben Thompson's going to join us.
Okay.
He's a colleague and friend of ours, published author. I can't remember if it's going to be next week or at another date, but we'll see when he shows up. But we appreciate everybody who's joined in and supported the podcast. As always, be sure to make sure you give us a 5-star review and let us know what you think of the podcast. If you like it, publish that, make that public. But also too, like if you have topics or anything you want us to cover, feel free to comment on that or send us a message or something.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
all right, thanks.